I was so excited for Sinners. I feel like I'm going crazy. Black Panther was not good. It had some great visuals and excellent performances, but it was not a good movie. I assumed that Ryan Coogler had hit his stride with the widespread acclaim of Sinners. Nobody could bring it up without rubbing themselves and crying tears of joy. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 97% critic score and a 96% audience score. That's almost the same as Godfather 1 and 2. Pillars of cinematic achievement. Thankfully, it just came out on Max, so I jumped all over it. I was so excited to watch this movie, Sinners by Ryan Coogler, starring Michael B. Jordan. I knew nothing else about the movie. I didn't know plot. I didn't know when it was set or anything like that. I just knew it was Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler. So, my first impressions upon starting this movie, and there will be minor probably pretty substantial spoilers in this review because we have to talk about a few things. So it begins, it's a period movie set in 1932. Michael B. Jordan looks great. I am already excited about this. I like period movies, especially when they're done well. Cinematography looks good, and I am looking forward to see what they come up with here, especially Michael B. Jordan. But then already in the first scene, the dialogue was way too on the nose, and the concepts were way too superficial. In the movie, Michael B. Jordan plays two twin brothers who are returning to their hometown in Clarksdale, Mississippi, after they just spent a bunch of time in Chicago being notorious criminals. But the first conversation they have, they're trying to buy this property, and it's so obviously a childish power fantasy, it's a little jarring. So the twins talk to this racist guy about buying the property. They want it to be able to make a juke or a club for the townsfolk and as a business. And there's just so obvious a setup about the racism and how that's going to come into play later. And them asserting themselves as, the powerful figures within this context. It's a little too much already. So then the twins, after having bought this property, they go around and they're trying to recruit a bunch of people to be in a band to play there who they know from their hometown. It's their big return. And also other people who are just going to help out. So there's this Asian couple who own a store and they're going to recruit them. And there are various people around the town who are singers, play instruments, and that sort of thing. And they spend an excessive amount of time doing this, just running around town recruiting people. It felt like a fetch quest or something in an RPG. So at this point, I like the look of the period set design, the costumes, the cinematography, but the characters are flat, the plot is tedious or non-existent, and I want something to get set up and start happening when it comes to, movies and characters. So I want to take a minute to address the themes, as far as you can call them that in this movie. This is a tremendously superficial movie pretending to be important. It's not. It has all the depth of a middle school essay. Movies can absolutely be racist. I don't have a problem with that. I would not mind if a black filmmaker just wanted to make a movie about how evil white people are. I don't care. Entire movie with white people stealing from children and lighting cats on fire. That's totally fine. But it has to be a good movie. It has to have complex characters, interesting ideas, plot, structure, setup, payoff, good dialogue. All these things have to be done well. If your ultimate message is die honky, at least make an effort. I can get that from a bumper sticker or CNN. A much more grievous sin than racism is making a bad movie. So yes, people in the movie are white, and every white person turns out evil. All the good people are black, and any black people that do bad do so because they were seduced by whitey. But that would be fine if you made a good movie, but you didn't. It's reprehensibly bad writing. Now, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the creators of South Park, they had this explanation for how to do good versus bad writing. And this is one of the things that makes South Park so watchable over the course of decades. So they kind of framed it like this. You have because writing versus and then writing. Because writing says, this happened because of this, and because this happened, now this happens. But this intervenes, and because this intervened, this happened. And so it's always attached. There are always things that are pushing the plot forward. It all makes sense, and it makes it more meaningful and gives a plot momentum. On the other side, there's and then writing. And then writing is just, and then this happens. And then this happens. And then this. And then this. It's just a bunch of things stacked on top of each other that don't have any obvious relationship. This entire movie, Sinners, is and then writing. There is no structure, there's little setup, there's almost nothing that actually matters to plot or character. The basic setup is complete and plays out exactly as expected from the first moments of the movie. And the characters, from choices to personality to any growth or development, are nothing. Zero. Yes, this is Black from Dusk Till Dawn, with a scene stolen from The Thing. And that's important because we can look at a comparison. So for comparison's sake, the first half of From Dusk Till Dawn has amazing writing. It gives you complex characters, stakes, costs of the characteristics of the characters. It makes you both root for and hate the brothers and never know exactly where the plot is going or how it's going to unfold. Seth is a criminal and shows it. He does terrible things, but he is not as terrible as Richie. This creates tension and intrigue. Later, Seth's anger and pride will get the better of him. Richie puts everyone in danger when he challenges his brother, and because of his other predilections I won't describe. Harvey Keitel's lapsed pastor tries to take control and fails. It informs his previous life and the faith that he lost. Sinners is mostly better acted and has more lush cinematography than From Dusk Till Dawn, but has much worse writing. From Dusk Till Dawn is propulsive and interesting. You recognize and understand these characters and the choices immediately. Sinners is bland and meandering. Choices don't actually matter. Characters go back and forth and you don't have a sense of why. Most everything seems, and is from a plot perspective, pointless. Speaking of plot, the plot continues and you learn early that a vampire has made his way into the town. He's white, of course. And for some reason he takes an interest in this juke club. He shows up with his white posse, but the twins won't let them in. There are some glaring issues with how the movie progresses. Besides it being empty, much of the runtime is musical numbers, to the point it is almost a musical, except the numbers do nothing to further character or plot. Then there's also no tension because everything that's completely obvious is far too drawn out. An example is the rules for vampires. It is so plain and boring. You have one of their friends standing outside asking to be let in. They have this long-ass conversation about it with several people interjecting, just jumping in and going back and forth about a foregone conclusion that if he's asking for entry into the house, obviously it's an indicator of the vampire rules and they shouldn't let him in. This happens multiple times in the scene that's ripped straight out of The Thing, and that's not me speculating. That's something that the director confirmed, the director-writer confirmed. Some of the characters refuse to take the test, and it has just no meaning or momentum. The plot essentially is just vampires attack club, and the accompanying metaphor that white people are monsters. Nothing else is important. Just when you watch this movie, if you watch it or if you have already watched it, just think about how many consequential choices that did or would have dramatically affected the plot or other characters that any of the characters made in the entire movie, that any character made in the entire movie's runtime. It's purely empty and then storytelling. One more note on the racial politics of this thing. Yes, every single white person is portrayed as stupid backwoods trash, a KKK member, or evil. The only white person who has any redeeming qualities is a girl who's half white and turns out to be evil by the end anyway. All black people are portrayed as cool, wise, generally good, and sympathetic. If this were the other way around, it would have been a decade-long firestorm of controversy. Jussie Smollett would have gone back to Subway, NASCAR drivers would be finding nooses again, Denzel would be playing Napoleon, it would be mass hysteria. As I said, I personally don't care. Artists are gonna art, but stupid is stupid. Finally, the damn thing has more endings than Lord of the Rings. It was so tedious. You have the one expected ending, then another expected post-ending, then another not expected but obvious and pointless post-post ending. Then I shut the thing off because I just had a headache by this point. It follows every beat of From Dusk Till Dawn. There is nothing original except setting it in 1930s Mississippi. It is genuinely a terrible movie. It's worse than Get Out. I did not like Get Out, but it's worse than Get Out. Okay, just for the sake of it, I'm going to steelman Sinners here and try to pull something out of this, just so I know that I've given it an intellectual chance. So what I'm going to say is that maybe Ryan Coogler is trying to say that the twins went the wrong route. They became notorious criminals in Chicago who gained a reputation back home. They chose the wrong life and were about to lead the real main character, their cousin, down that path. Their cousin was just kind of hanging around with them and had heard of their reputation, but he was more interested in girls and playing music. He wasn't so interested in the criminal life. So the whole event made him stick to his music instead of crime, and he had a good life as a result. It would still be horribly written if you have that reading of it, but at least you could try to save it a little bit with the thematics. A lot wouldn't make sense on that reading, and almost everything that happens would still be meaningless, but at least there'd be something to it. For example, if you wanted to tell that kind of a story thematically, then it would have been better to have the twins actually steal the property from the KKK guys in the beginning. Then you have some, minor moral complexity, but you still root for the twins. Instead, they really soften what the twins are supposed to represent by saying that they got their money through illicit means that we don't really see in Chicago. We don't see them doing any horrible things or anything like that. They just talk about this reputation of being criminals. It was also pointless that they were twins. Like, you didn't need both of the characters. I know it's inspiration from Dusk Till Dawn. It has two brothers, and that works really well in that setting here, so I wonder if that was the reason that they want to make it twins. Also, to get to see Michael B. Jordan play two characters. But they do almost nothing with this. Just, I like my twin brother. Great. It was something that could have been really interesting and important thematically, especially something in this setting and called Sinners. Obviously, I'm sure there was some kind of background idea about a sacrificial lamb. So in old religious practice, they used to have the two lambs. That's still, obviously symbolically done. But I think it's in Leviticus where they talk about it, that you have one lamb who will be fitted with all the sins of the people. They dump all the sins on this one lamb and they send him off into the wilderness, and then they have one blameless lamb, who's the Lamb of God, which will eventually be fulfilled by Christ when he comes along. But you have the one lamb who's blameless, and that lamb is slaughtered as an offering to God. So in this, it could have been very clearly set out. Okay, you have one brother who's the bad brother, who's doing all the horrible things. You have one brother who's blameless, and the blameless brother gets slaughtered while the other one is fitted with the sins and goes out into the wilderness as a vampire. That could have been some kind of an idea that is the background of the movie and the thematics in the movie. But in this case, it doesn't work. It doesn't really know whether it wants to say that these guys, and this is why the earlier thematics that I was talking about don't really work either. It doesn't really know whether it wants to actually blame these guys and say that they're terrible people, or it just wants them to be action heroes and they're fine. By the end of the movie, you have Django Unchained kind of ending scene where he's shooting up all the evil KKK guys who come back, and it's like 1 versus 30, and he takes them all out. And it's not all right. But the point is, they could have made it very clear when it comes to the writing that these guys did a bunch of really terrible things when they were in Chicago, and they would have to pay penance for that, which could have made for an interesting movie, especially if throughout the movie they were fighting these urges, or if one of them was blameless, but he just kind of tagged along, and one of them was the killer, the horrible person, and so you have that dichotomy that's really clear throughout the whole thing, and that's emphasized throughout the way that they talk, who they know, who likes them, who doesn't like them, what they want to do and don't want to do. All those things were emphasized, that one is the good one is the bad one, all the way through. That would have made sense and made for an interesting thematic, but it doesn't have that kind of interest in the characters or in storytelling or in the implied biblical references and all those kinds of things. Has no interest in any of that stuff. It's really, really superficial. It's really just, let's reference a couple of things related to character. Let's reference a couple of things related to religion. Let's reference a couple of things related to vampires. And all that is sufficient to make a movie out of it. It doesn't do anything with any of those things. So it was sad because Michael B. Jordan is an excellent actor, and if he had better writing to work with, he absolutely could have nailed it with this whole twin thing. I mean, it was tough for me to tell them apart because I think twins generally all look alike. Yeah, this movie's boring, it's bloated, it's pointless, it's stupid. It's another in the line of horrible movies that are praised due to lowered expectations, not merit. I hated it, it was objectively awful, and people need to stop pretending otherwise. I'm sure everyone will agree, so thanks for listening. If you haven't watched it, just why not? Go watch it, or watch something better. But if nothing else, if I'm allegedly wrong about how great this movie is, then I would genuinely love to hear what the counter arguments are, because this one is very obviously terrible, and it's very frustrating that people are unwilling to be honest about it. So anyway, that's Sinners. Hope all is well, and I will see you on the next one. All right, bye.
We've been gone a long time. We back now.